Morning, you wackos. So, I saw this tweet from Paul Joseph Watson, and it's pretty poignant. Essentially, says the key is, or this is the key, left wing parties push blanket university attendance because many universities are Marxist brainwashing camps. They would create lifetime voting blocks for leftist parties. Not everyone is meant to attend the university, and he gives a Breitbart article, which we'll go over here in a second. Um, this is somewhat true. Now, the university I went to for my master's degree wasn't necessarily that way. Now, I didn't go to the undergrad portion of that university. I just went to the master's. Luckily, I had a pretty rock solid, cemented ideology, if you will. So I didn't. So even if they were trying to push some sort of intersectionality, which one of my colleagues or classmates, if you will, sort of was pushing that, but just kind of like a couple of us kind of just rolled our eyes internally, didn't want to disrespect the situation, but or the seminar, if you will. So that was just one of the things, but I never thought of it that way. Why governments, especially ours, pushes people to go into college and then push for free college? Why would you do that? What would be the benefit, other than their BS excuse that, people will be smarter? And no, I don't think so. But let's go over the article real quick here. It says, Delling poll. If Boris can't counter the red menace in education, this is the last ever conservative government. I always like both left and right political sides of the political spectrum. I always put the worst pictures possible, how like Trump, screaming or making some sort of face. And here we go. This person, I think, I don't want to even, oh God, is it a gender? I don't know what gender it is. I don't want to because you never know what YouTube is going to do these days, or anybody else. So, it says, this is probably an opinion piece. Yeah. It doesn't say it, but let's just be honest. It's an opinion piece. It says, my biggest disappointment with the British general election result is that it has denied us the exquisite pleasure of watching young Corbyn voters being reduced to eating their household pets. I think I know where he's going with that. Had Jeremy Corbyn's Marxist won so many 18 to 20-year-old voters had hoped, it would, of course, have been a disaster for Britain. Of course it would. But at least it would have proved salutary lesson to all those university brainwashed kids who think the only problem with communism is it hasn't been tried properly yet. Again, we know about that. Well, we did warn you. We could have said to Arminata in her tattered that t-shirt as she tucked ruefully into her pony shay. Oh my God. Now you know what fully automated luxury communism tastes like. This isn't a joke either. Just look at this terrifying map of how the general election result would have turned out based on the 18 to 24-year-old vote. Whoa, I guess. I don't know what their methodology here is, but it says from Daniel Buzz 89 says how the results of the GE general election would have looked if 18 to 24-year-old olds voted. Man, it's ugly. These kids had their way, then the world's fifth largest economy would have been reduced within a few months to the status of Venezuela-style basket case, with private property confiscated, freedom of speech muzzled, taxes rocketing, Jewish people were persecuted, terrorists appeased, national security surrendered. All those lessons they had in school about the rise of Nazi Germany and the rise of the Bolsheviks, if any, clearly made no impact whatsoever on their tiny minds. Jeremy Corbyn's Labour barely even attempted to conceal its anti-Semitism, its fondness for terror groups like Hamas, its hatred for the West, its thugishly totalitarian instincts, let alone its hard left economic agenda. Man, this guy's got a lot of adjectives here. Yet still kids had no compunction about voting for these thugs. So What is to be done to counter the menace of our homegrown Red Guard? Yeah, good question. This question will, I hope, be among the highest priorities of the new Boris Johnson administration. It jolly well ought to be. What, after all, will be the point of all the economy-boosting, life-enhancing measures Boris has planned for Britain in the next 4 years if they're going to be undone in 2023 by a new red surge? Jesus. And the answer surely starts with educational reform. The left dominates British schools, much like the United States, with over 80% of teachers backing Labour or Lib Dems. Yeah, I think you get the gist of it. I think the point is that so many governments, not just, Western governments, I think most governments in the world are pushing kids just out of high school straight into college. Why? Because it's easy to indoctrinate young, fresh, mind mounds of mush, calling their brain, into a leftist ideology. Yeah, I see where this is going, but again, I don't see how this is going to do anything positive. It's going to happen regardless. So if it's going to happen regardless, then why even bother doing anything? I don't know. But that's the point. I see his point, but I don't see this as the last ever conservative government. Now, however, especially, I don't think they're taking into account of the birth rate in these Western countries. They're down. They're not replenishing their population. Matter of fact, if you look to Japan, for example, a lot of people aren't having kids. A lot of couples, if you will, and sometimes they're not even coupling up. They're just living alone, and they're not having kids. So it takes, I think, to replenish the populations. After someone dies, you need about 2.4 births per death. I think that's how it works to replenish a population, something like that. Maybe numbers might be off by a 0.1 or 0.2, left or right. So I don't think they're taking that into effect. Older people are staying older, and for the most part, when you get older, you become more conservative-ish. Not necessarily far right, if you will, but if you start left, you tend to push to the right. And if you're right as younger, you sort of keep pushing towards right. Now, obviously, there's outliers, and you may find yourself more left than you started on the right. But that's neither here nor there. But again, this is an interesting point. I think what Paul Joseph Watson said was that you push people to college where they can be indoctrinated. Interesting point. I don't know. We'll see how this ends. I might be dead before it gets really bad. So I guess that's a good point, right? Laugh aloud.